Anyone can have an idea, but can they really see it through? I was hired to be the wheel, and I was watching this thing turn and spin, and I realized I was never the wheel anymore. I was just a cog in it. So part one, as a recap, was my life and career leading up to, getting offered Son of the Mask and all the things that happened to me in Hollywood. Part two was more of the nitty-gritty details of the deal, the machinations, the minutiae, because it almost didn't happen multiple times. And part three is, one of the toughest parts, execution.
Why do you think I suck? I'm doing the best I can here.
Execution is key, and it's very difficult. And I'm watching this thing that I thought was gonna be one thing slowly unravel and become another thing. And I was like, oh boy. This is part three of filming The Son of the Mask. Man, I'm going to say some shit and I don't know what I can keep in. This is so fucking intense. Are you ready? So where do I begin? Well, filming this was such a thing because to get us to that point was a lot of moving parts. We wrapped physical production on the Jamie King Experiment for the whole season, 24 episodes, season 3 on Halloween. So we basically shot a whole season in 3.5 months, and that was awesome. My feeling was I'd be 3 months of, my show, then that would go on the air and edit as I was filming a movie, and then this movie was filmed for 4.5 months, 5 months, and then when the show goes off in May, the movie would come out in the summer of July 04. Boom! You would then start your new season, do 3, and another movie. Boom! July 05 or Christmas of 05. So I was starting to look at those holiday slots, and that's what I'm thinking. I was like, that's the move, as an actor. And when you want to go big time, what's your release dates? I did my first special I signed on to do for Comedy Central, and then I was going to do Comedy Central Records, and So it's like product, different parts of your career all coming out, and you just swarm in the market. And it's not like it was today. We wrapped, and then 5 days later, I go to Australia. I think it was November 5th. I go down there, and I do 2 or 3 weeks of pre-production. I was doing every type of thing. This is what I think a movie should be, and I think this is what actors should be. I think you should be performers. I got to help cast. At that time I was working with Cal Penn. I rewrote the role for him. I think he's so funny. And so I jumped in with the writing. Every day I would write. Then I had choreography for the dancing scene, a little bit of vocal, lessons for like that singing part of the scene, animation history, where I would basically study animation. ILM was on this movie, and it was a big part of the budget. So we had multiple crews, scan every angle for myself for ILM. So they made a digital Jamie, then I get blue suited Jamie, then I get bulb suited Jamie, then I got dipped in prosthetics. So they made Jamie prosthetic, Jamie rubber, bodysuit Jamie, different face Jamie. Then I had baby time, which is because I had these 2 babies. So I would spend about an hour a day with the 2 babies, learn how to hold them, feed them, give them the bottle, get used to me. With the babies, it was a big deal for me. And a lot of people will say like I was tripping and stuff with the baby and worried. I wasn't worried about the baby. I was caring about the baby, because these are babies. They literally were just came out of the fucking shoot. And they're on a set making a movie. They have no idea. These babies walk in a Blockbuster 12 years later and go, when did I film that? Yo, how come I don't have a Porsche? Mom, where's my money? They had no idea. They're babies. And so they were so cute, so pretty, and big eyes, and just innocent. And they're just in the world. And I was like, so I wasn't worried. I was very cognizant that these were brand new forms of life that I wanted to protect. just very much like wanted to make sure those babies were treated incredible.
Guys, you do not need the real baby for this. Here we go, and action.
And the dog trainer is a wild, hilarious guy who should have his own reality show, but him and his dog were every day. The dog is a dog, but his name was Bear, so there's so much, dude. I would spend time with Bear, just playing catch, feeding him, giving him kibble, watching him do his tricks, letting the guy train him, and Bear also. So I was doing a fuck ton. But that's what I signed up for. I was all in. It was all mask all the time, every day. We're working 5-6 day weeks. I mean, amazing DP, amazing director, great cast, very, very big, great producers. So we were in.
This movie has everything that you don't want to have in a movie, with babies, dogs. I've just made out with a dog 4 times.
Our main character in the film is a 9-month-old baby that has to perform.
You have to understand is, what do they say never make a movie with? They say never make a movie with kids or never make a movie with animals. So I decided I'm going to star in a movie that's a sequel to one of our biggest comedic icons of all time, and co-star with not 1 but 2 kids, because they would swap them out so they could work more. A dog in a foreign country with CGI and a ton of prosthetics. That's what our movie was. What happened with the movie was, as we started the process, we were always reworking and rewriting. And to just tell you this is that movies are never done. You can talk to the greatest directors of all time. They'll say, oh, I wish I did this better. It's always a WIP. It's always a work in progress. This movie was a little different because the tone of it was very important. And I think when we signed on, the tone to me was Mr. Mom, one of my favorite movies of all time, early Michael Keaton, that made him a star. So it had the relationship of a new wife who ends up getting pregnant by accident. So it was there was a romantic comedy. It was a meet cute family movie with CGI. Then things become fucking insane, like a Marvel movie. Now I know you're going, a Marvel movie. Yeah, we haven't got there yet. So what's the movie about? Is it the baby? Is the dog? And we came to the conclusion that it was this guy, his regular life was dreary, but he dreamed of these big worlds. And in it, he was a struggling cartoonist, and he had this beautiful, cute wife, and then they didn't want to have a baby yet. So it was the foibles of raising this baby. And then we realized this baby has powers. What the hell's going on here? And then I realized what the baby is, and then I get the powers because I use this mask, and then I realize it's gonna make me the greatest cartoonist. So whatever I draw, whatever I act out, so from cowboy, whole scene, the next day I deliver that cartoon, or I'm a super salesman, or an alien, whatever. And that's the original idea. So I was gonna go into 10, 12 personas, all made up, all wild, and all enhancing my cartoon imagination, which then will be used and get him more successful. And then nefarious people realize that this mask is important. So Loki, who's looking for it, is well, that's my mask. I'm the trickster, Alan Cumming, and you can see that he can change into anything he wants. Boom. How dare a mortal use that mask? I want to take it back. Well, it's fucking me up because you're fucking my career up. I need this. And whoa, you took my baby. I need the baby, or you're not going to get the mask. And then it becomes that whole standoff thing, and then the power of the good versus evil and all of this stuff. So I was you could see how that could be big and cool, right? I was going to be a little nerdy normal guy. And even though I can do voices and characters and stuff, that wouldn't happen for me. Jamie Kennedy wouldn't do that. It would be the character would go and morph into that. And so it'd basically be the ability to go into bad situations or situations where you need something once I put the mask on, like, I was a surfer, bro, you know, or I was a woman, a secretary, and whatever. But in full makeup, like massive. So I was gonna be, you know, 12, 15 fucking characters. Like, this is fucking sick. And I'm gonna show the world all of my abilities. So I can't remember every detail, but I kind of remember like a pretty good sized scene got cut, and I forget what it was, and it was like to make way for like in order to do the downtown driving scene, we had to cut like another scene that was like kind of character heavy, and I was like, well, let's talk about it. And they were like, dude, we don't have the budget. And Larry is like me, he's altruistic and he's a creative guy, and he's like, well, let's just figure it out. And I think once the execution started to come into play, like the money and the dollars to put towards the executing of it, you can write, you know, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson scales up a building the side of the Empire State Building, and he punches Rampage off the side of the building. Well, that's good on paper. I'm not gonna lie. We had a producer on it that I didn't really know, and I don't know if he was put on by the studio or whatever. There started to be things of like, we got it, let's move on. We got it, let's move on. And yeah, I'm younger in my career then, and I'm more insecure. So I want to make sure we have it. And even though I might have it in take two, I might need two more just to double check it. And you know, and I get it, you gotta be responsible and you gotta move on. But when I did Malibu's Most Wanted, believe it or not, you know, there's not everything I wanted in that movie made it. And you would think, well, I had a lot of power. I did, but I didn't. Like, you know, I really respect the director because he was some guy that wanted the job, and, you know, he really met with me to get the job, and I was a big part of hiring him. But once he got the job, he kind of bossed me around a little bit, and we clashed a little bit, but he's such a fun guy and a jolly guy. And I realized at the end that he did that because he's like, you want your fucking movie, bro? Do you want your dream to be realized? Then you gotta make your fucking days, and you gotta know what you want to shoot, and you gotta get it done, or else you're not gonna get your fucking movie in the can. He's like, this is for you, bro. I learned a lot from him. You can't just be creative. You gotta make your movie. You have the money to make it. You have to make your days or you're fucked. And so that's hard because what I thought was going to be my baby, I had a big baby with a lot of other babysitters. Doing the simplest, easiest shots of us just lying on the bed. It was me and Trailer, just a cute little scene at the baby and the dog. We had to do that over and over again because the baby crawled off, or it looked the other way, or the dog crawled off, or the dog saw a bird. And we ended up doing so many of these basic shots that are frivolous because of the unpredictable nature of an animal or a child, mixed with we had to hit the marks exactly to get the CGI right, that your time is crunching. So your basic acting scenes that you would like to be funny and nuanced, very rushed. So things that I thought were top of the tier in front of the bus were definitely put to the back of the bus. And I understand that you can't control a baby, and I understand you cannot control a dog, but that became a problem. Because since I didn't have specific work hours because I'm not a baby, and you can talk to me because I'm not a dog, Jamie, you're going to have to wait and we'll figure it out. You know, it had to be because that's just the way it is. You can't, you know, make a baby go, all right, let me hit this scene again. I somehow thought that we could shoot each thing in its own little vertical universe. So the dog would do its stuff and cut to me. But, you know, we did a lot of stuff together. So that was a little harder. And Larry is a creative genius. He's very, very, very meticulous. He knows what he wants, but that's when you watch his work. It's beautiful. Everything is accounted for. What's in that scene? What's the prop? How long's the dolly track? What's the push in? Like, he's very much like that. So, you know, no stone goes unturned for him, but that's, you know, there's few and far people that get that time to do that, like a Kubrick and stuff. So even though we had time, we didn't have the time that we wanted. You know, basically, there's just a ton of different things that can happen during this movie, and it became like what was the movie that we were making. You know, to me, it was a PG-13 meet cute romantic comedy that turns into a family comedy that turns into a pre-Marvel action adventure escapism superhero junior-esque type of movie. And I think that we made that movie, and that movie is somewhere in the vaults of New Line Cinema. But the movie you saw was sound bites. And I think there's a deeper conversation to this, which I would probably let Larry tell you. But basically what happened when we wrapped this movie, which was a 5-month shoot, I started working with Larry in post-production. I started looking at the cuts when we get back, and I'm like, this movie looks big. Tracking shots and it looked like Gotham City. You know, this is all before all the superhero movies. You know, only big movies were out then. There were big movies, but like it had that vibe of The Mummy. The Mummy was a little bit more serious, and ours was a little bit more Looney Tunes, but not Monkey Bone. It was big and ominous and then normal. So it was like anytime there was the world of Loki and Thor, it was big. And then when it came to my little story, it was, you know, little, and then these things were going to clash. I start doing voiceovers, and I go to the valley, and I start looking at Larry's cut. And it's long, but it's interesting, and you can see where the CGI is going to go and stuff, and it was probably almost 2 hours, you know, but it wasn't a comedy. It was you know, and it had zaniness moments of cartoons, but then it had a lot of slow burn. Loki Thor angle was very much like Loki, and their world was big, and you saw that, and it was cool. So the studio they did not have the right to view a cut until like 10 weeks. So it was like they got the editor's cut, they got the producer's cut, they got the director's cut, and it was like then they could view the director's rough cut. So like Larry would sign off on the editors. It was like Larry would sign off on the editors, the producers, and would have some notes, and then he got his first rough cut, and then I think he got another cut before he would have to show the studio. The movie was it was a baby Titanic. It wasn't Titanic, but it was a big undertaking. He needed more time. He was running out of money, and he needed to make the movie he needed to make, and he needed fucking funds. So here comes the fucking Peter to pay Paul. So the studio said, okay, well, you used a lot of your money. And he goes, I know, but it's a bigger endeavor than I thought. And they said, well, let us see the movie. And he said, well, you can't see the movie for like another 5 weeks. So he would show them a scene there and a scene here, and they go, we like it, but let us see the whole movie. They were like, you know, if Bob sees this movie, he's the guy who can decide, get you more money or not. And so Bob Shea was the maverick of New Line, you know, Freddie with Wes Craven. And he remembered, this was when I saw the third Lord of the Rings down there when I was filming it in a fucking beautiful cinema. And it was massive. And New Line had the Lord of the Rings, and each one made $1 billion. It was before Marvel. And so Bob, at the time, they were like, basically, we show Bob this cut. Look, he's artist friendly, and if it's as good as you say it is, he'll give you the money. So I remember this very vividly. Like Larry was, you know, do I take this? Do I do this? This is a risk. My movie's not ready. Can I show it to the studio? And he was fucking talking to me about it. I was like, dude, just wait, get your cut, man. Get your cut. You don't trust these suits. And blah, blah, blah. He needed the money. They had him over a barrel, and he believed in his product. So he ended up acquiescing, and he ended up screening the film for them. The movie has a lot of big, long tracking shots and slow burn and pushing, but it's very cinematic, right? You're going, what? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. This movie had size, and it had scope, and it had tones. When you saw Thor, when you saw Loki, it had that Marvel tone. And when you saw me, it was like me, like a little funny, normal, everyday comedy. And then when you saw the baby, it was a little more messy. And then the dog was more cartoony. So it had tones. But they all existed in their own world, and they were different shades on the same palette. You know what I mean? And that takes texturing, and that takes time. So they showed the movie, and I'll never forget, there was an executive there, and I forget her name, man. And I don't know if we can keep this in, so don't fuck me. There was something in the movie, and when she watched it, I was told no one laughed. And I don't even know if it was me. It was just a scene that me and him knew would work. And she's like, that's just not funny. But she's an executive, and like, I did the joke in clubs, and I had done it around, and it was like a joke that I expanded for the movie. And he's like, yeah, she thinks that's not funny. But I've done it. I've tested it in front of people in like Milwaukee. Yeah, he thinks it's not funny. And I go, but it works. And he's like, yeah. And so I was like, this is the person you're going to screen the movie for, her and the owner of the studio. And he's like, I know, dude. And I'm like, you're going to have an audience. You got to have an audience, you know, because they cannot like something, but they hear the laughter. And he's like, I can't get the audience. They want to just do a little baby screening. And I was, so long story, not fucking boring. They show the movie, and Bob Shea is very quiet. And he said, basically to the extent of, to Larry, thanks. And just leaves. Takes all his fucking minions with him. Specifically don't know what happened, but basically what happened was they said, cut the movie. Cut the fucking movie. So the movie, which was like 2 hours, they took like 38 minutes they wanted out of the fucking movie. And Larry's like, what the fuck? You're cut. And they go, just get to it. Get to the scene, make a fucking face, hit a bang. Yo, add an effect. Look at Jamie, go, and then go bang. You know, go over there, the baby farts, zoinks. Like literally, zoinks. Pacow, bing, bong, boom. Put the cartoon, make the baby funny. A lot of dog, people like dogs. Blah. Like, it became a fucking ADHD cluster fuck. They basically said, special effect the fuck out of it. You're not getting any more time for editing. There's enough. It's too long. It's do this. It does this. Special effect the fuck out of it. Baby the fuck out of it. Doggy the fuck out of it. Cartoon the fuck out of it. And zany. I have those notes somewhere. I saw these notes. Zany-fy it. Hopefully we'll make our money back. And we'll do good in Asia. And before the movie, which it didn't get into China, it did very well in Japan and other territories. It made almost its budget back in that area, which is another whole story. So the movie lost all nuance. And you're going to say, well, what nuance is there? I don't know. Release the Guterman-Kennedy cut. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Listen, you know what to do. It's been a minute to do this, but look, like this channel if you like this stuff, because it helps me in the algorithm. I know everyone says that, but my stuff is actually good. And then, you know, hit the subscribe, because that also helps me. And hit the bell, the notification, so you know, boom, you get some JK content coming. Also, right below, the Patreon, because you're going to get some only intimate JK stuff, not only fans. Good JK behind the scenes stuff that only I can put there. Things that I can't say on YouTube because, you know, Big Brother.